Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi, wa man istanna bi sunnatihi ila yawmiddin. Allahumma ja'alna minhum wa min alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Amma ba'd, I am extremely honored and extremely proud to be part of this event, and extremely proud as a Muslim, and I think all of us should be also as an ummah of what Qatar has achieved during this World Cup. The doors that they have opened, we don't realize what an incredible thing this is. People look at this from a political point of view, an economic point of view, a social point of view, a media point of view. I look at it from a spiritual point of view. How many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have come here and started rethinking their relationship with their perceptions of Islam, what they thought about the Arab world, what they thought about Muslims, what they thought about a masjid, what they thought about, the outlook of Muslims. The fact that so many hundreds of thousands of people are already starting to post on social media that they're rethinking their relationship with alcohol, they're rethinking their relationship with cleanliness. They are, they're becoming more open to thinking about other cultures in ways they never considered before. These are all things that were supposed to be part of the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and they've accomplished that. So a round of applause for Qatar and for what they have accomplished for all of us. I'm also very grateful for EIF and IMI and Exploring Islam Foundation for being able to put this and many other incredible events together. May Allah reward all of the people that were involved and bring khair out of this, bring good out of this that is for you, your families, and inshallah for generations to come. Now, I have a lot of thoughts about what I wanted to share with you this evening, and I'm praying to Allah that He gives me clarity in speech, that I'm able to say something to you that you can take back home with you and remember and benefit yourselves and benefit others. So I'm going to start at the very top, and I'm going to ask you to repeat certain things after me, just so you know you remember what I said. Because I know some of you tell me all the time, Ustad Nouman, I listen to you all the time. Before I go to sleep, you help me go to sleep every night. So I know for a lot of you, my voice is very soothing, and I help you sleep, which helps my confidence. But tonight I'm going to make you speak out loud a little bit so that I can see that you're alive, because I can't see through the lights over here, so I will know from the sound of the volume of your voices. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is some things you may not know about the word ayah. The ayah is the fundamental unit of the smallest unit of the Quran. I don't like to translate it as verse because that makes it sound like it's either biblical or poetic. But the ayah is a unique construction of the Quran. You can't even translate that as a sentence really, because many ayat are not sentences. So it doesn't fit the structure of a verse, it doesn't fit the structure of a sentence. It's a unique thing, it's just called ayah. To me, the best translation of ayat of the Quran is literally ayat of the Quran. The same way I don't like to translate surahs of the Quran as chapters, because chapters are chronological and sequential, but anybody who's read the Quran knows that the second chapter may talk about something, supposed chapter, and the 10th or the 11th or the 12th may repeat exactly what was said already in the second supposed chapter. That's not what happens in chapters, but it certainly happens in the Quran. So the Quran's literary structures are surah and ayah. Now, I'm going to talk to you just about the word ayah. How does the Quran describe this thing that He calls ayah? It's not just the words in the Quran that are ayat, or ayahs. It's actually also, there are ayahs in nature. So he'll say there's an ayah in the mountain, and there's an ayah in the camel, and there's an ayah in the land, and there's an ayah in the sea. So everything he points out in the physical universe around us, he says there are ayat in it, but it doesn't stop there. Then he says there are ayat in history. So the things that have happened before, there are ayat in the ancient ruins of lost civilizations. Those are also ayat. So when I've been trying to understand and study the Quran for over 20 years now, and my question philosophically became, what is included in an ayah? What does it include? Okay, it includes the ayat of the Quran, I get that. Then he also includes in it what is inside of nature, then what is inside of history, then what is inside of yourself, what is in the skies, what is coming in the future. And the realization dawned on me, Allah is actually saying all of reality is just like in physics, reality is made up of, the physical universe is made up of subatomic particles down to, protons and neutrons and even smaller than that. The same way all of reality is made up of a set of ayat. There are ayat everywhere. In fact, you don't say what is an ayah because it's impossible to say that something is not an ayah from the worldview of the Quran. So then I need to define, because I said it's not a verse and it's not a sentence, so what is it? So we're going to look at the word ayah a little bit today before I can share the lesson with you that I want to share with you. This word, before the coming of Islam, was used by the Arabs in a very interesting way. Like, for example, when they would travel in the desert, and they stopped somewhere. They didn't have McDonald's back then, so they stopped somewhere in the middle of the desert and they started a fire and they made some food and they set up a tent. And when they finished, they picked up all their utensils and their clothes and the tent and all the valuable things and they left. But there's still some ash and some burnt wood and stuff, right? That's left behind. So the new people that would come, they'd look at the fire and the ashes, but they don't see anything valuable. So they say, خَرَجَ الْقَوْمُ بِآيَتِهِمْ. The people left with all of their valuable goods. The word ayah actually used to indicate something that has value. This is important now. This is where your quiz begins. The first thing ayah means is something of what?
Value.
Something of value. Very good. You are alive. Okay. So something of value is number one. Secondly, the nouns in Arabic, they give birth to verbs. So one of the verbs that comes from this word, ta'ayya, actually means qasad, meaning to go somewhere with a purpose. So actually the word ayah itself means purposefulness. So now I've got two meanings for you. What was the first one? I forgot. Value. What's the second one?
Purpose.
Purposefulness. Everything in reality has value, and everything in reality is full of purpose. Everything. That's the Muslim view. That's the Quran's view. Nothing that happened in my life had no value. No person I met had no value. No time I spent had no value. Nothing that's going to happen in the future is without value. And all of my experiences, all of what I see around me has a purpose. And so I had to challenge myself today. I give lectures all the time, but here I am speaking at this remarkable event at the occasion of the World Cup. So apparently the World Cup, according to this view, is also an ayah. And the match you're watching is also an ayah. And every one of those athletes are also ayat. And the stadium filled with fans are also ayat. And I'm like, how am I going to explain that? This is a spiritual experience watching the semifinals? Or the people that are going to the final, they finally got a ticket, they're like, Alhamdulillah, I'm going to go see some ayat of Allah. Like, I think you are. It's just about perspective, isn't it? So what does Allah say about the reality of ayat? He says, لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ. So they think deeply of what is behind His ayat. So there's a mountain, there's a camel, there's history. That's all what your senses can perceive or what your mind can read about. But behind them, there is something valuable and purposeful that cannot come out until you reflect and contemplate. That's actually the point that I'm going to try to make to you. I've given you two meanings of the word ayah. We're going to use that throughout these few minutes that I'm going to share my message with you. One of the most amazing things that dawned on me today as I was thinking about what to share with you is an ayah of the Quran where Allah says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ. Worldly life, this life that you and I have, these few years that we have on this planet, is nothing but entertainment and a game. Or you can call it, in our context, a match. Because a match at the end of the day is also what? A game. Right? So now Allah is doing something, it's called, this tashbih baligh in Arabic studies. Allah is not saying life is like a game. He's saying life is a game. And this is actually a very powerful way of expressing something in Arabic. Clearly life isn't a game. Your job is not a game. Somebody sitting in the hospital is not playing games, right? There's wars going on, that's not a game. But Allah is saying if you contemplate a game and you contemplate a match, a contest, then you might learn some valuable lessons about life itself. about what Allah wants you to know about life itself. So that's what you and I are going to do for a few minutes, inspired by the ayah, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوٌ وَلَعِبٌ. Now, here are a few thoughts that I want to share with you. And by the way, on this idea of la'ib, this is one change in perspective that I want you to take home with you. When you experience something, you should think about how is that an ayah of Allah? Because remember, it's purposefulness. Purposefulness, if I'm walking with purpose, that means I'm heading to a direction, right? That's what that means. If I'm walking without purpose, I don't know where I'm going. A student that has purpose takes all the classes that are going to lead to their graduation. A student without purpose says, I'm going to try, I don't know, architecture for a semester. Next semester, I'm going to take some music courses. Next semester, I'm going to, study, I don't know, Bolivian history. I don't know, because my parents pay my tuition, so I feel like I can do that, I can explore. That means they don't have purpose yet, right? The purpose of the ayah is to lead you back to Allah, in some way or the other. So Allah is saying all of reality, if you thought about it, if you thought, really deeply about it, in some way or the other, it's going to take you back to God. So let's think about this. In sports, the athlete, I was talking to Sonny Williams earlier today, I was like, before there's a match, what's going through your mind? Like, what are you thinking about? What are some of your anxieties before you, there's fans sitting and cheering and everybody else. Can you imagine what's going on in the mind and the heart of the athlete that's, they haven't come out before the crowd yet? The fears they have to overcome, the nerves they have to calm. Not only is everybody watching and there's so much expectation, my family, my team, all the preparation, all the trials, and finally I'm here and I better prove myself. And then there's thoughts about the opponent and how strong they are and how organized they are and how scary they may be and all of that stuff, and I better prove myself and and the most successful athletes are the ones that are able to calm their nerves. Whatever sports you watch, you know something. Sports is 50% talent and 50% psychology. When you've lost in your head, when you've lost your nerve, when you've lost your composure, you could be the most talented athlete, you can't perform on the field. It doesn't matter which sport it is. So it is actually success on the field, first of all, is going to come from a certain kind of mindset. And Allah is teaching us something about every event in my life, every contest in my life. Whether you're going into a job interview, whether you're going to, go study in the university, whether some of you said you took Shahada, you became Muslim, you're going to embark on learning your religion from zero, you're going to start learning a little bit of Arabic or something like that. There are going to be intimidating challenges in front of you. But those athletes are actually a kind of inspiration. They didn't just show up on the field. That athlete at one point was a kid playing on a street, and nobody knew he's going to be a star in the world. And they had to cross hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hurdles before they made it to their city team, to the national team, to the Olympic team, to the team that qualifies even for the World Cup. There are lots of hurdles these people crossed. Now people on the outside, all they see is, they lost the match. He doesn't even know how to pass the ball. They look at that one mistake and they make a little YouTube short out of it, and everybody comments on, my God, they pay you so much money, you don't know how to kick a ball? My grandmother could have kicked the ball better than that. You're the reason we're going. And so people are so passionate and angry about this athlete and the mistake that they made, or that cost us the game, or they lost the nerve and all of it. But what you don't see is years and years of training, grueling practice, and so many battles that were won to even make it to that field. You don't see any of that. You see that one mistake and everybody's mad at the guy. He's the new meme, poor guy, right? And if you contemplate that in your life for a moment, you and I feel that we get judged for our mistakes. Like, people don't remember any good that you do, they just remember the one bad thing that you do, right? And they keep reminding you of it. Remember that kick? Yeah. It doesn't matter what else you accomplish in your life, now you're a loser forever. So you feel like people are judging me unfairly because they take my one mistake and they keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, and now they're trying to reduce me, like as if there's nothing else I've ever done or there's nothing else I'll ever be capable of, right? But we do that and we feel that people are doing that to us, but we don't feel bad when we do it to others. We actually don't even think about it. It's so easy to pass that judgment. It's so easy to say, oh, this person, this is the cause of our failure. This is what they've done. But those athletes themselves, they could not survive where they are if they paid attention to you and me. If they heard the boos in the crowd and watched all that criticism and all of that and it started affecting them, they couldn't be where they are. They had to learn something. They had to learn to ignore the fans. Because the fans will love you when you are what? When you're what? Winning. And those same fans will hate you when you are what?
Losing.
Losing. And in your life, you might have people around you that cheer you, that support you, that love you, only when you are what?
Winning.
Winning. And the moment you slip, the moment you fall, the moment you fail, they're the first ones to kick you. They're the first ones to abandon you. And you realize something, the people who truly succeed, they're on the field, they're not in the comment section. They're not the ones yelling at a TV screen. They haven't accomplished anything except comments. So you learn something powerful about what's going on the field, and that's just one of many contemplations that even Allah tells His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people have a lot of things to say about you, a'rid anhum. Just ignore them. Just ignore them. Many of you, I see a lot of young faces here, when you and I watch social media, you're less interested in the video that you're watching, you're more interested in what people are saying. So you spend more of your time commentating, like looking, even if you're not going to do the comments, you're going to read a lot of the comments, right? And then even if you post something on social media, which is mashallah usually very purposeful, like what you had for lunch, so you post that, and then you keep checking who commented on my pizza slice, and what did they say, so you have this obsession with what people are saying. You can't accomplish anything in life if you focus on what others are saying. You can't. And this is crazy because in the new world of social media, all that matters is engagement and analytics and what are the comments saying and what are the ratings and how many likes are you getting, and this is the new currency. This is the new way to become rich, right? And in that environment, a powerful lesson, those who truly succeed, they learn to block out the noise. They learn to block it out. And that was something taught to our messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then here's another thing. You could say, okay, we're people of the akhirah. We don't care about the dunya. So what if the Moroccan team lost? And I'm so proud of the Moroccan team, by the way. Round of applause for the Moroccan team. Alhamdulillah. How awesome. So proud. Just because of that, I'm going to go to Morocco this year. Inshallah. Or next year. Okay. But anyways, what I want to share with you about that is the companions of the Prophet, they of course they believed in the next life, and they suffered a terrible defeat in Uhud. It was devastating. 70 of the most dear companions of the Prophet and some of the people that were the economic backbone of Medina also were killed in the Battle of Badr, or Uhud rather. And you could just find a revelation from the Quran that says, that's okay, that's just a loss in dunya, take the L, you get the final W, you're going to get the victory in the akhirah, don't worry about it. No, there are 60 ayat in Surah Ali Imran discussing the loss of Uhud. What went wrong? What do you learn from this? How do you grow from this? And there's a lot to learn about losing. Losing is actually more of our life than winning. Even the team that's going to win, we're going to talk about that at the end. Not my predictions, but we'll talk about that at the end. But the idea that most of our life is actually challenging situations. Not every day is a huge celebration. Not every day is some grand victory. Most of our days, the vast majority of our lives are struggle, and there's a small episode of victory, back to struggle, small episode of victory. Like for example, those of you, the day you graduate from school or university, yeah! A week later, now what? And then you want to feel that super energy again of how awesome it felt the day you graduated or the last day of your school. So you want to feel that good, so you'll go back to your old school one day after a few years just to feel it again, and the security guard says, who are you? What are you doing? No, I used to be like the most popular kid. Please get out of here. Nobody cares about you anymore. That's done. So now you need to find a new victory, a new occasion to celebrate. You know, there's an excitement, but the excitement is so short-lived. That's a powerful lesson in the Quran. We run after very exciting things, but the excitement is very short-lived. And the moment it's over, now it's time to run after the next excitement, and then the next excitement, and then the next excitement. There's so much like crazy energy right now in Qatar, right? And there's so much enthusiasm, especially football fans. There's so much talk about what's gonna go down, right? And there's so much energy and enthusiasm. Just compare that energy and enthusiasm about what's happening a week from then. Just a week from then, those same fans. Yeah, we won! Is the moment you win. We won. A week later. Yeah, I know we won. A year later. Yeah, that was pretty good. The excitement wears down. It starts wearing down. Now you need something else to be excited about. Now you need to move on to something else. Sports teaches us something. That life is just made up of one match, then another match, then another match, then another match, and you've got to keep moving on and moving on and moving on. And if we become so addicted to just winning, to the excitement of winning, then we're going to be devastated. Because most of the time, you don't win. Most of the time, you have to face adversity. You have to face disappointment. And this is a lesson in faith. You know, boxing, for example, or any other sport, the training is not easy. These people have to give up essentially their freedom to be ready for competition. At the higher the level, the more you lose your freedom. When you sleep, when you wake up, what you eat, you know, it's a very, very difficult regimen to be able to be ready for a match. And you put all of yourself, mind, body, and soul for this match or for this game or this contest. And at the end of that, if you lose, how devastating is it? You'll see athletes crying on the field. And understandably so. They put so much, their families, themselves, they put so much of themselves into that effort. And when they're not able to get there, it is an absolutely devastating thing. Right? But then after you put so much effort in, how will you find the motivation to get back up and give 1,000,000% again and go at it again? And you'll find people in sports that have lost. They've lost big time. And then they come back and become the biggest champions in history. That's happened over and over again. And you know what? This is a spiritual moment because Allah teaches us in the surah of loss. I call it the surah of loss because no more exhaustive commentary exists in the Quran on losing than in Ali Imran. And at the end of Ali Imran, Allah says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sabiru wa sabiru wa rabitu. Persevere, have grit. Sabr I like to translate as grit. Become tough. Learn to take the loss just as learning. Here's what the loss had value. The loss was an ayah. What did I say an ayah means? I forgot again.
Value and purpose.
Value and what?
Purpose.
So that loss had value for me. And that loss had a purpose for me. The loss you have, the job interview that didn't work out, the marriage proposal that fell apart, the marriage that fell apart, you know, the relationship that went sour. Whatever personal situation you have going on, whatever financial situation, whatever health situation you have going on, every loss in life had value, every loss had purpose. And can you imagine, look at it from another point of view, if the Muslims had not suffered the devastating loss that happened at Uhud, we would miss so many ayat of the Quran, we wouldn't understand them. The most valuable treasure Allah has given us is His own word. What a valuable price for a treasure for every believer to gain because of what looked apparently like a loss. We received an ultimate treasure, which is Allah's word itself. Just a couple of quick, now final comments about just some things to contemplate about these events themselves and ourselves and something to take back. You know, being proud of your team, being proud of your people. You know, there are nations, countries that they idolize their sports icons, right? You'll see kids wearing the faces of their sports heroes or wearing their jerseys and pretending that they're them when they're playing. And even when I watch sports, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Okay, so I was at the Morocco game too, and I'm happy about it, alhamdulillah. So every time, for example, a goal got scored, I felt the pain in my ribs. And the people that are watching, that if you're into it, it's almost like you're on the field. You feel so connected to the team you're a part of. Their loss becomes your loss. Their victory becomes your victory. You become vicariously connected to them. There's a sense of connection to the people that are representing your country, your ummah. They're representing something to you that is valuable to you. You know why I'm bringing that up to all of you? Each one of you is a star in and of yourselves. And you have to now you have to become the pride of the ummah. You have to face adversity and come over challenges and accomplish something, whether it's on a football playground or in business. Whatever it is that you're going to do, you have to become a pride of your people. You have to accomplish high things. And it's only the best of the best that now they boost the confidence and the pride of an entire nation with them. That's what they end up doing. This is an ayah of human behavior. This is not all the kuffar do this. This is not us. No, every nation does this. This is a human behavior. سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Sports psychology is something inside of the nafs of every human being. We have it. We have a connection to sports. We have a connection to athletes. We are proud of them. And you know what? Through that, a lesson in life. You know, when young kids like, I'm going to be the next Messi, or I'm going to be this, or I'm going to be that, right? The same way, even as adults, you have to reconfigure your life. You have to I have to think about my life, and you have to think about your life in terms of leaving a legacy. And this is going to be my final point. This is a difficult one. I hope I have clarity in speech when I give you this one. You know, there's a lot of talk about this final because you know, Messi might have finally got a chance to get the World Cup and, you know, finally leave that great legacy. So I wanted to talk to you about legacy a little bit, right? The idea of leaving a legacy behind is people will remember what was accomplished. And a pride of a nation, but also specifically for that purpose, right? For that person individually. What I want you and I to think about is the idea, the desire to leave a legacy behind and to want to be remembered, and to want to be thought about in good ways. This is a desire all of us have. Maybe in small ways or big ways, but we all have it. We have a need to be relevant. We have a need to be remembered. This is the same need that in a very small way, when it wasn't being met to their satisfaction, the brothers of Yusuf said, Dad loves Yusuf more than he loves us, because they needed to be thought, they needed to feel something from their dad that they thought they weren't getting. They needed that feeling of relevance. So you and I have that feeling too. Some of you, for example, you accomplish great things in life, but your parents are not proud of you no matter what you do. They're just not happy, right? So when people come up to you, MashaAllah, you graduated, so proud of you. Your parents must be so proud. And you're like, you don't know my mom. You know, because every time you accomplish something, they're like, oh, you think this is an accomplishment? This is, you're proud of this? Have you seen your sister? She's so much better than you. Have you seen your brother? They did this. This one's kid, they did this. This constant comparison. So you're never able to make them proud. You're thinking, somehow I need to be someone that's remembered. And I started reflecting on this need to be remembered. And I thought of just one ayah that I want you to think about. Surah Al-Insan. Allah says, هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. Was there ever a time that passed in the endless ages of the span of the universe? Wasn't there a long period where human beings were not even worthy of being mentioned? Like the universe is billions, 13.9 billion years old from what we can tell. And for the vast majority of that time, you and I were irrelevant. We didn't exist. And even when humanity came into being, for all of human history, you and I were not known or relevant to anybody. Nobody cared or loved you or me at all. When you're reading about history books, you're reading about people that were relevant to each other, but you weren't relevant to them, right? And there were people that were so big on leaving a legacy behind. They were the local champion, they were the local whatever else, and you know what? We have no idea who they are. They're erased under the ground somewhere. When you think about that, you're like, well, at some point, even though all of this is so relevant to me now, sooner rather than later, I'm not going to be on this planet anymore. I'm not going to be walking above the ground anymore. I'm going to be underneath it. How am I going to be remembered then? And people that, even if people don't believe in God, when it dawns on them that I'm not going to be remembered, then they try to figure out ways of wanting to be remembered, even after death. So some of the most wealthy people in the world who never gave anything in charity, the moment they're about to die or soon when they get the cancer diagnosis or the heart condition diagnosis, they start donating lots of money to a hospital and they want their statue in front of the hospital or their name on it because they want something of them to be remembered. And this amazing surah, I tell you, something happens in it that blew my mind. The beginning, Allah said, wasn't your beginning something that wasn't even remembered? Wasn't that your beginning? And right in the middle of the surah, Allah describes a scene in Jannah. In Jannah. And in Jannah, the climax of heaven for the Muslim, listen to this carefully. The climax of it, Allah says, وَسَقَاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ شَرَابًا طَهُورًا إِنَّ هَذَا كَانَ لَكُمْ جَزَاءً وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. Allah is giving the believers drink Himself. Allah is serving drink to His servants. And then He's saying, the fact that I am giving you to drink is your compensation. And your efforts were always appreciated. This is the last message I will leave you with. Think about what I'm saying. Humanity, most of us have never, or will not be remembered, most of us. And even if we are remembered, it's going to be for a little bit. And then humanity will forget who we are. And most of the universe's span, we haven't been remembered. But there's one thing that fulfills that need. Allah is talking to you directly in Jannah. And may Allah grant all of us Jannah. He's talking to you and me directly in Jannah. And you know what He's saying? He's saying your efforts were much appreciated. وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. And I think about this ayah and it baffles me. Your efforts were appreciated. Your efforts are being acknowledged. Allah didn't say your wins were acknowledged. Your accomplishments were acknowledged. Your success was acknowledged. Because human beings only acknowledge success. We only acknowledge the guy that the camera goes to the winner. The camera barely touches on the loser because they want to show them cry, and then they go back to the winner. The focus is on the winner. The focus is on the guy who got the job. The focus is on the one who won the election. The focus is constantly on the winner. History is written about the winners. Now, it doesn't matter how much effort you put in. Effort doesn't pay the bills. Winning pays the bills. Winning is what's required. And in Allah's Jannah, He didn't concern Himself with accomplishment at all. He didn't concern Himself with the win at all. He said, the one thing I did value from you was your effort. He said, the effort made you so memorable, forget humanity remembering you or not, or the universe remembering you or not, Allah Himself is remembering you. Allah is remembering you. Think about the sports analogy and I leave you. All people remember is that missed kick. Oh my God, how could you miss that penalty? I could have made that penalty if I was kicking it backwards. That's all humanity remembers. And you know what Allah remembers? It's like Allah remembers the training sessions, early morning. Allah remembers how this guy was starving himself from his favorite donuts. Allah remembers how much he was grueling himself to fix himself and to overcome his injury. He remembers all of that. That nobody remembered. Nobody remembers that. There was no camera then. Nobody was appreciating that. Nobody saw that. And the same way when you and I come to the service of Allah. If I was here and nobody was sitting here, two people were sitting here and I was talking, then somebody would say, this was a very unsuccessful event. Nobody came. And if a lot of people came, this is a very successful event. A lot of people came. And Allah will not, Allah brought the people. That's not my accomplishment, that's Allah's accomplishment. That's not the organization's accomplishment, that's Allah's. The credit goes to Allah. The only thing you and I, for attending, the organizers for putting this together, the only thing that's going to be rewarded or worth something valuable is going to be the effort itself. Just the effort, that's all. We, as a result, become a people of effort. I told you this is the last thing, but I promise you now this is the last thing. It's going to take 120 seconds, I guarantee it. It's like a Pakistani guarantee. Okay. You know, the fact that so many people came here from so many different cultures and societies, and they enjoyed a game together, and that game is actually a small simulation war, isn't it? Like two nations fighting each other out on the field. and competing against each other and wanting to annihilate the other one, completely destroy the other one. And yet they're sharing the same stadium, they're sitting next to each other. One guy's waving the French flag, the other's waving the Moroccan flag, and they're still like, you okay, you all right, that's good? And then they're screaming for the other side, but they're not hating each other at the same time. It's a strange thing. It's conflict, yet friendship at the same time. And the athletes that are at war with each other, some of them go, they slam into each other, and you see the guy that slammed into him, extend his hand, pick him up, give him a hug. They're like, hey, that's your enemy. What is this? Oh, they call it good sportsmanship, right? Allah created the world, life this way. Life is competition, it's tension, but we also need each other. If you don't have your opponent, who are you going to play with? You need some contest. You need to have an opponent. Just as you need to improve yourself, you cannot improve yourself in the absence of an opponent. So the challenges you have in your life are actually a gift for you. They were put in your place for a reason. They are there for a reason, and they are just because we are in competition in some things doesn't mean we become enemies. It is both competition and cooperation at the same time, and that is our relationship with all of humanity. That is trade, that is competition in business. The only way products improve in quality is when they have somebody competing with them. They're like, we gotta make our product better because otherwise this other company is gonna win. And this is a healthy thing. Competition is a healthy thing. It's not your enemy. It's the only way, work moves forward. That's the only way you get the best employees to give the job to, because there's competition among the people that are applying for the job. So competition is not the same as jealousy. You see? Those athletes, they'll play their heart out, and at the end of it, they'll shake each other's hand. And it's over. They're not, the next few days, they're not like, I hate that guy, I hate him so much, and they're like, he's better than me in this. No. Next time, I'm gonna fix my flaws, and I'm gonna see if I could do better. I think I can beat him. I think I could do better. They're not living in jealousy. They're not living in comparison. They're living in a sense of improvement. These are the lessons, some of the lessons that you and I can take from what we've experienced around us. And what an amazing, amazing event it has been. I thank you so much for your patient listening. And I pray that as you leave here, you and I become people of contemplation. Look at the ayat around you. Look at the experiences in your life and really think, what is it that Allah is teaching me through these experiences? And the more you spend time with Allah's book, the more you'll start learning about your own life, your own experiences, and Allah will open your heart and your mind. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.